Inspector Massimo Rossi. Ercole saw at once. Though a forestry corps officer, Ercole on occasion had worked with the police of state in and around Naples and knew of Rossi. The man whose face was burnished with permanent stubble, it seemed, and whose head was topped with a thick pelt of black hair, side-parted, was around 50 years of age. Resembling the actor Giancarlo Giannini, handsome, heavily browed, dark eyes, thoughtful, Rossi was well known, and not just here in Campania, but throughout all of southern Italy. He'd successfully found and arrested many suspects over the years, resulting in convictions of senior Camorra officials and Albanian and North African drug smugglers, as well as money launderers, burglars, wife and husband killers, and psychotic murderers. Ercole, whose forestry corps duty required him to wear a uniform, was impressed that Rossi was not a fashionista, as were some inspectors who wore stylish designer, or more likely faux designer, suits and dresses. Rossi wore the clothes of a journalist or insurance office worker. Modest as tonight, his outfits were dusty and not well pressed. Ercole guessed this was to keep the suspects off guard, make them think he was slow or careless. The truth might simply be, however, that Rossi's mind was engaged in embracing cases, and he didn't even notice that his look was unkempt. Then, too, he and his wife had 5 children, in whose rearing he was active, so there was little time for cultivating a trendy look. Rossi completed a call, climbed from the car. He stretched and took in the scene. The dusty road, the unsteady bus stop enclosure, the trees, the shadowy forest, the bicyclist, and Ercole. He now approached. "Forestry Officer Benelli, you have stumbled on something more than a poaching, it seems. You marked off the scene. Clever." He looked over the area around the bus stop once more. Ercole was rarely involved in crime scenes, so he carried no tape. But he had used a rope meant for rock climbing. Not a hobby, but an occasional necessity in his job, which included rescuing hikers and climbers. "Yes, sir, Inspector. Yes. This is Salvatore Crovi." Ercole handed over the bicyclist's brownish identity card. Rossi nodded, reviewed the card, and handed it back. Crovi reiterated the story of what he'd seen. A man in a dark-colored sedan, no make or model, no number plate visible. He could see little of the attacker. Wearing dark clothing and cap, the perpetrator had flung the victim to the ground. They had struggled, and the bicyclist had hurried away to find Ercole. The victim was a man, dark-complexioned and bearded, wearing a pale blue jacket. The detective withdrew a notebook and jotted in it. Ercole continued. "But when we arrived back, there was no one. No victim, no attacker." "You searched?" "Yes." Ercole pointed out a large perimeter. "All that way, yes. He might have gotten farther, but I called out. No one answered. Mr. Crovi assisted. He went in the opposite direction." "I saw nothing, Inspector," the bicyclist offered. "Perhaps witnesses on a bus?" Rossi asked. "No, sir. There have been none. I called the transit office. A bus is not due for another half hour. Oh, and I checked with the closest hospitals. No one has been admitted." "So maybe," Rossi said slowly, "we have a kidnapping. Though that seems curious." A horn honked, and Rossi looked up toward a queue of cars. In the front, a sinewy, 60-ish balding man in an ancient Opel was gesturing angrily, sneering, wishing to pass. His way was blocked by Ercole's SUV. There was another car behind his, filled with a family, and this driver too began to honk. A third joined in. Rossi asked, "Is that your Ford blocking the road?" Ercole blushed. "Yes. I'm sorry, sir. I thought it best to protect the scene. But I'll move it now." "No," Rossi muttered. He walked to the Opel, bent down and calmly whispered something to the driver. Even in the dark, Ercole could see that he blanched. A similar word with the driver behind him, and both cars turned about quickly. The third did too, without the need for a personal visit. Ercole knew the lay of the land well here. To pick up the route on the other side of the scene would require a detour of nearly 20 kilometers. Rossi returned to him. Ercole added, "And, Inspector, As I was